So, there is a massive shift happening at the very top of Apple. After a long and incredibly successful run, the Tim Cook era is winding down. That means a new CEO is about to take the reins of one of the most powerful companies on the planet. The big question is, who is John Ternus, and what does his leadership mean for the future of Apple? But before we get to the man himself, let's just take a second to look at this number. $4 trillion. That is the mind-boggling value of the empire John Ternus is set to inherit. You know, no pressure or anything, right? This isn't just a company. It's a global economic powerhouse. And this transition from Tim Cook to John Ternus, it really signals a fundamental change in philosophy at the top. We're going from an era that was defined by an operations genius, a guy who perfected the business of Apple, to an era led by a product guy, an engineer who is obsessed with the gadgets we hold in our hands. It's a huge shift, and one that could be absolutely crucial as Apple searches for its next big thing.
Hey, real quick, if you're finding this interesting so far, do us a solid and hit that like button. It really helps more people discover what we're doing. We appreciate it.
Okay, so to really get where Apple is going, we first have to appreciate the incredible scale of where it's been. And the Tim Cook era was, by pretty much any financial metric you can find, just an absolute blockbuster success. I mean, just look at this. When Tim Cook took over from Steve Jobs back in 2011, Apple was worth around $350 billion. A lot of money for sure, but today, it's a $4 trillion giant. That's not just growth, that's completely rewriting the definition of corporate scale. So, how in the world did he do it? Well, Cook's genius was in operations. He took the innovative fire that Steve Jobs left behind and forged it into a global empire. He grew the stock price by over 1,900%. He launched brand new market-defining products like the Apple Watch and AirPods. And maybe most importantly, he built out this huge services ecosystem, iCloud, Apple Pay, all of it, that turned Apple into way more than just a company that sells you cool hardware. So with that incredible legacy as the backdrop, let's meet the guy who's taking the wheel, John Ternus. Now, Ternus is no outsider. He's a true Apple lifer. A graduate from the University of Pennsylvania, he joined the company way back in 2001. He spent almost a quarter century working his way up the ranks, eventually overseeing the hardware for pretty much every major product you can think of. His resume is basically a highlight reel of Apple's biggest wins. He led the hardware teams for the iPhone, the Mac, and the AirPods. He was a key player in that massive and massively successful switch to Apple's own silicon chips. And here's a fun fact. His career actually began working on VR headsets, way before it was the big thing it is today. And you don't have to take my word for it. Tim Cook himself had high praise for Ternus, saying he's someone who exhausts every possibility to make products more excellent, bolder, more beautiful, and more human. That right there is the product guy DNA we were talking about. And his style is reportedly very different from Cook's more thoughtful, question-heavy approach. Ternus is known for being decisive. A Bloomberg report summed it up perfectly. It could be right or wrong, but at least it's a decision. That kind of attitude is exactly why so many people in Silicon Valley are drawing parallels to Steve Jobs. Just gonna pause for a second. If you're enjoying this breakdown, subscribing is the #1 way you can tell us you want more deep dives like this. Okay, back to it. Look, it's not gonna be an easy ride. Having a product-first vision is great, but running a company this big comes with a whole lot of problems. Ternus is facing a gauntlet of at least 3 huge challenges that are really going to define his time as CEO. First up, the big one, the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence. It is basically an open secret in the tech industry that Apple has fallen behind in the AI race, and playing catch-up is probably his most urgent mission. And this isn't just about making Siri a little less frustrating. The problem is, their lag in AI software is now actually holding back hardware innovation. It's delaying new products, and it's even driving up the cost of things like memory chips, because they're competing with a whole world of AI data centers. It's a threat to the entire Apple ecosystem. Next on the list is a really thorny issue that even Tim Cook, the master of supply chains, had to wrestle with: the global manufacturing puzzle. For years, Apple has relied on China for more than 80% of its iPhone production. But with all the geopolitical pressure, they're being forced to diversify. The problem is, moving production to places like India has been tough, with lower production yields. And manufacturing in the US, it's still just a tiny piece of the pie. There are really no easy solutions here. And the third big challenge? This one's a little more personal. See, Tim Cook isn't just riding off into the sunset. He's staying on as executive chairman, which creates what some are calling the challenge of the chairman's shadow.
History shows us this can be tricky. The handover at Microsoft from Gates to Ballmer, or more recently at Disney with Iger and Chapek, well, they were famously bumpy. That kind of power friction is a real danger. The hope at Apple, of course, is for a smooth transition, something more like what we saw at Amazon with Bezos and Jassy. The question is, which way will it go?
All right, we're heading into the home stretch. If you've stuck with us this far, thank you. One more quick click on that like button would be awesome. So when you put it all together, what does it all mean? Well, we are watching the beginning of a totally new chapter for Apple. And it really makes you wonder, is this a return to the company's roots? In his very first message to employees, Ternus did not hold back. He said this is the most exciting time to be at Apple in his entire career. And then he made a really bold promise. We are about to change the world again. That is a powerful statement of intent. And that leaves us with the central $4 trillion question. By putting a decisive, product-obsessed engineer in the top spot, is Apple making a smart move back to its roots? Or, in today's incredibly complex world, is it a risky bet on a future that might need more than just the next amazing product? What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the stories that are shaping our world, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.